Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast of One Patriot. I am Burning Spear Patriot, and I'm joined with the lovely Libby Lou.
Hello.
Yes, once again, thank you. We are going to talk about the topic of the raid of former mayor of New York City and Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. And we're also going to talk about Biden's State of the Union address. First, we're going to go ahead and talk about the raid of Rudy Giuliani. I want to kind of touch on his background, how he came up as a lawyer in New York, and his dealings with the mafia and how he became the mayor, and he was pretty much in kind of like a law and order type of mayor, a guy who was going to restore the order back into the cities, and how he changed the way New York ran its city. He cleaned up New York, and I definitely want to touch on that and give him credit for that. Did you want to say anything about Rudy Giuliani, or did you have anything, are you very knowledgeable about his past, or?
I'm not incredibly knowledgeable. I had a great disdain from him when I was a liberal, not on any merit, just on Giuliani.
Yeah.
What a piece of trash.
I'm going to be honest. My first impressions of Giuliani were when I was growing up. I had no clue about like how he was, except from hip hop artists from New York that would always rap about him and how horrible he was. Biggie Smalls always talked about how horrible Giuliani was. A plethora of different rappers, would talk about how bad the guy was. And I just kind of associated him with being a bad person because I looked up to a lot of rappers back in the day. And now I don't, I'm walking to and dancing to a completely different tune nowadays when it comes to hip hop. But I still love Notorious B.I.G., but I think I look at things through a different lens now.
Same.
And go ahead.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I don't know. They say as you get older, you get more conservative. Maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah.
But it's like now knowing what I found out about Rudy Giuliani, his accomplishments, what he did for New York, especially, I'm sure you'll touch on it. Like with the mob.
Mm-hmm.
That man.
Yes.
I sing praise. Like, you can think he's overly aggressive or may not agree with his policies, but you can't deny the results.
The results. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because New York was going through it was just, it was like, that was the murder capital of the United States at one point, until Giuliani came in and changed things around. So
yeah, I was shocked at the number. I didn't realize the number was so high until you told me.
Yeah, it was very, very catastrophic what they were going through with the drugs.
That too.
With the drugs, the mafia, just the crime period that was going through. The police that were just pretty much, they had the shackles put on them because of the things that the last prior mayor, which is pretty much what Bill de Blasio is doing. He put the shackles on the police. He didn't let them actually do policing. And
look what's happening.
Yeah, and now look what's happening. We're pretty much trending back to what New York used to be. The crime is up. Especially the violent crime is up.
Yep.
We're getting a bunch of anti-Asian crime that is up in New York, anti-Jewish crime that is up in New York, It's crazy right now.
It is crazy. I was looking, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but before Giuliani took over, I think there were over 2,500 murders. That's been reduced down to a few hundred per year, which is still a lot, but for a city, that's a huge improvement. But in the past year, it's back up to almost 1,500 murders.
Yes,
it's insane.
This is what Giuliani did, his legacy and his effect on how the NYPD was policing. And people can say what they want, but the city was safer. I think Bloomberg, after Giuliani, did a lot of things. I think he went overboard, especially with the stop and frisk thing. He went overboard with that. And Giuliani did utilize a little bit of that, but not to the point. His stop and frisk, even though it probably is unconstitutional.
Yeah, I disagree with it.
Yeah. He did it in a way where he did it. He targeted certain places where he implemented that, and he did it in a way to where it was, at least it was in a targeted way, instead of just randomly taking any person in these neighborhoods like Bloomberg did. And there was a limit. There was a cap on how many stop and frisk you can do. Bloomberg just said, no, there's no cap. You just stop and frisk everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody, which really was, it affected a lot of black and brown people in those communities. So I really think that New York needs another Giuliani. They really do, especially after this jackass that's in right now.
The United States needs a Giuliani.
Yes,
let's be real.
Every major city needs Giuliani. If every major city needs a Giuliani in their freaking mayor seat. I don't care if this is a circle jerk for Giuliani. I will circle jerk Giuliani all day long. I sing that guy's praises because this guy is fearless. Yeah. So let's start from his history. I don't know too much about the guy, but we'll just start with what he did with the mafia. So he was a young lawyer. The mafia had control of pretty much all the things that were going on in New York. Whether you want to talk about construction, you want to talk about women's garment industry, you want to talk about the docks, anything that came in and out and hit the docks from New York City, the mafia controlled. The skyline that you see in New York, you see all those skyscrapers and everything that are there right now, that was built pretty much by the mafia. The mafia controlled the unions to all the construction companies. I mean, hell, Donald Trump had to deal with a lot of the mafia because he has a lot of real estate in New York, and Donald Trump had to deal with the mafia. And because of that, Giuliani was brought in to help dismantle that. So what Giuliani did to dismantle that was something called the RICO Act. The RICO was implemented into law, and it was used to take down the mafia. So where you can charge the top dogs, because at first they were just only getting the low level guys.
Right.
But they made it to where you can prosecute an entity or an organization from the top, because it allowed you to charge somebody with conspiracy to do whatever type of racket that was in place, or whatever type of racket that they were doing, whether it be ordering out a murder, selling drugs or any kind of like corrupt union business or any kind of money laundering, loan sharking.
Yeah.
This money was kicked back up to the top, and Giuliani through RICO was able to prove in court that these head honchos or these head bosses of these New York Italian crime families were guilty of that. So he took down the mafia doing that, and that is his legacy. So he did that, and then he was able to, I think he tried to run in '89 for mayor, and I think it was a failed run for mayor. But we got to understand that New York is uber liberal.
Right.
Uber liberal. So if you're running as a Republican, it's going to be pretty damn hard to get that spot. But it was kind of the perfect timing because New York was going through a bunch of things like we touched on earlier. Crime riddled city, murders, drugs, the police force was just pretty much shackled. They couldn't do anything. It was just terrible. And here comes Rudy Giuliani, the law and order guy, the guy who brought down the mafia. He was able to come in and win that seat. And I think it was 93 or 92. I'm not sure. I think it was 93. You can fact check me on that. But yes, he came in 93. And was very successful, turned around the economy, turned around the crime, was very... Go ahead.
Oh, and some of his tactics, I was reading, like, he did that by being, like, very aggressive on even petty crime.
Absolutely.
Right? Like jaywalking, littering, even that.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense. I feel like a lot of people probably felt like it was overreaction, especially looking at it from the outside. Like jaywalking ticket. I've gotten a jaywalking ticket and I was livid about it. But obviously it was
we got to know, like, I mean, is jaywalking legal?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
I mean, it might seem petty, but is it? I mean, if we don't want it to be legal, if we don't want it to be if we want it to be illegal, then we need to do what we have to do to make it be illegal.
Right.
Don't get mad at somebody enforcing a law that's already intact. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I understand you were livid, but like, we can't get mad at something that's already like the law and get mad when somebody enforces that law.
Right.
We got to do what we need to do to get these laws either eradicated or amended or whatever you need to do to get rid of the law. And then we can say, okay, all right, no more tickets for jaywalking.
Right.
But he came in as the law and order mayor. So jaywalking, these petty crimes, hey, you got to do it from top to bottom.
I agree.
Yeah. So I can't say that I have a problem with him enforcing that.
No, I can see why people were upset about it. But like you said, especially when you can't give a little bit of leniency because people...
they'll take an inch and they'll take a mile.
Exactly.
They'll take an inch and turn it into a mile, So it's like, yeah, I know it might seem, like a freaking authoritative, like... place to live. And I get that. I understand that. But we have lights. I mean, New York is a very, very busy city. I mean, look what happened to the police officer that was directing traffic in New York, where that piece of crap garbage ran him over when he was directing traffic. I mean, I digress on this subject that we were talking about with Giuliani, but there was an incident where this woman, a anti-police person who was a NYC radio host,
Yep.
made videos the night prior talking about how much she hated the cops, how much she didn't care about any police person's family, wife, kids, nothing, mother, father, whatever. And then the next day she goes
and during that entire time she's taking shots, smoking weed throughout the entire thing too.
Throughout the entire thing, and she goes and kills this police officer.
Hunts him down. LeBron James. She hunts this officer down.
Yeah, she hunts him down. Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, hey, she went out. There's literal more evidence to that than there is to what LeBron James is talking about.
Exactly.
Because we have video evidence of this woman talking about how much she hates police and how much she does not care about police. And then not even a few hours later goes and runs over a police officer.
Yep.
So this should be a hate crime, but they're not going to charge him with a hate crime. And if some of these stories that you saw out, I would look for them, and then it would be like an NBC story or a PBS story, and then there would be nothing in that story that said anything about the video about this woman that she put out the night prior to killing this police officer.
Of course they're not.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, they're not going to say it's a hate crime because they're going to use the bullshit line, of you're only an officer 40 hours out of the week. You're not blue full time. I'm black full time. And it's like, no.
Is that really the case? Because
you're still an officer when you're off duty.
Yes, because you are expected to conduct yourself that way. You're expected to conduct yourself to a higher standard. Not only that, there are police officers that are getting their homes attacked. Yep. There was just today, or was it yesterday, this man that went into a police officer's home, went into his car, took his vest, took his gun. I think he went into his garage, broke into his garage, burglarized the place, burglarized his car, his vest, his gun, and he was shot. He was in the house when this was happening, and he was shot by the suspect. And he was, the suspect got shot too, but because the guy had like a backup gun. But I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
This was today, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this guy this was in L.A. The same city as LeBron, ignorant James, LaChina James, LaWoke James, LaBitch James. Oh God!
Keep them coming.
Yeah. Oh my God! This is the same. This happened today, but you won't hear about that on the mainstream news. Like it's just.
Was this a targeted attack on the officer?
He obviously knew it was a police officer because the police officer had his car was there, and this car had his vest in there, had his gun in there, and this was definitely a targeted.
It was a malicious attack because he was a police officer. Wow. No,
I'll show you the article. I'll show you. It's probably on YouTube too. I think I saw a video of it on YouTube as well.
Did the officer survive?
I just know that he was taken to the hospital. That's all I know. And the guy that attacked tried to burglarize a police officer, I think he sustained some shots to the shoulder and the arm. But the police officer was shot in the chest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, speedy recovery to him.
Oh, yeah,
hopefully everything's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. But back to Rudy Giuliani. Sorry, we got off topic a little bit.
Yeah.
Where was I at on that?
Giuliani, petty crimes.
Right. Yeah, petty crimes and how he's enforcing this. I think that he is the law and order mayor, and places like Chicago, places like Los Angeles, places like a lot of these big cities, places in New Jersey, Philadelphia, they could definitely use a Rudy Giuliani.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because these places are just terrible when it comes to crime. Always the big cities. Chicago, of all places, could use a Rudy Giuliani because whatever they got going over there, I don't even know.
Lightfoot is lurking, and
I don't
that
even
is saying it.
She's not even human. I don't even consider her a human. She's human waste. That's what she is.
She's responsible for many deaths.
Yeah,
I think, and she should be held accountable.
Yeah, so
that's another conversation.
Yeah, so he was Rudy Giuliani was reelected in, I think it was 97. And he continued his successful run as New York. And this guy was, even New York City loved him. Even like a bunch of celebrities loved him. Like everybody loved him at that point.
Didn't they want him to run for a third term, even though?
Yeah, but he decided not to.
I thought it wasn't allowed at the time. I don't know. Anyway, but the point being that the sentiment was that they loved Rudy Giuliani,
yes,
especially given his how he conducted everything on September 11th.
Absolutely, he was beloved in New York.
Yeah,
and what's funny about that? So were the police.
Right.
So were the police. The NYPD. Everybody loved the NYPD at that point. I don't know what happened. But they just they were all of a sudden the villains. I think it has to do with Barack. I think Barack Obama's presidency changed the narrative, and it changed the perception of a lot of things that happened. Yeah. I mean, we can even talk about the thing with Michael Brown and Eric Gardner and Trayvon Martin, and how he handled all of those situations. Instead of being opining and being neutral, he interjected a lot of identity politics. He interjected a lot of indictments against the police. He divided the country on a lot of issues. People want to talk about Trump dividing the country. How was Barack Obama was the ultimate divider.
Yep.
And there's no way you can say that this guy was a unifier. I mean, if you want to, Donald Trump is literally the proof that you need to know that Barack Obama was not a unifier. Because usually when you leave office, I can admit that Donald Trump was not a unifier, but you have to admit that Barack Obama wasn't a unifier, because after Barack Obama, the people elected Donald Trump because they were fed up with the whole crap that was going on in the Obama administration. They didn't want a continuation of that.
I was going to say, I would dispute that a little bit. I think Donald Trump was a unifier, just not of maybe both sides. Mm-hmm. But he definitely unified the right.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, he unified the working class people, and he unified, the right. He unified a lot of the disenfranchised blue collar people that elected Barack Obama. They went to the Trump side because they saw that there was a whole bunch of BS that was going on the other side, a whole bunch of identity politics that were interjected, a whole bunch of corruption with the Hillary Clinton and the Barack Obama administration, everything going on with Benghazi, everything going on with the laptops, and just the Clinton history. They did not want a continuation of that. And
rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. So it was Donald Trump. It is, So yeah, back to Rudy Giuliani. We've been veering off the topic a little bit, but back to Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, like I said, his whole, the way he handled the 9/11, and he was a hero. Fast forward to him, he's Trump's lawyer and an advisor to Donald Trump, and his dealings in the Ukraine is what really made people on the left, especially the Democrats, just flip their, they just lost their mind. Because when he started investigating Joe Biden and his family's dealing in the Ukraine, that just sent everybody over the top. The whole thing with the impeachment kind of stems from that a little bit, because he was investigating the Ukraine a little while before that, before the call. I mean, Donald Trump wouldn't have said anything had he not had any knowledge about what Giuliani told him.
Right.
So that call with the Ukraine, he was like, oh, yeah, what's going on with, Joe Biden? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Giuliani was the man where Trump was getting his info from. So, and then we also had like public info. His son is on a freaking energy company, no experience whatsoever.
A Ukrainian.
Yeah, Ukrainian oil energy company.
Mm-hmm.
No experience whatsoever. Was kicked out of the military because he was smoking cocaine or crack or whatever the hell he was smoking.
Everything.
Yeah. He has these dealings in China. He has all kinds of shady business deals, and they wanted to look into that. And Giuliani, as a private citizen, can investigate whatever he wants, and he doesn't have to register as a foreign. What is it? A foreign? I think you have to register as a foreign. I forget the term.
I'm not sure exactly, but he also, I think it's important to note that Joe Biden hadn't put in his bid.
Yeah, at the time he hadn't put it in, so that he was free game.
Yeah, exactly.
He was free game, and the Democrats love to say that. It was like, no, he wasn't. But he knew he was going to be. How do you know?
Yeah.
He was supposed to run in 2016, but they put a stop to it because Hillary was like, "No, I'm a run," and the Democrats were going to get behind her. Yeah. But the thing is Rudy Giuliani, he was over the target. Mm-hmm. He was over the target, and this is why they are attacking him. This is why they raided his home. He's doing something right. Yep. And the FBI, I call them the left BI, because the left BI does nothing but carry out orders from the left. They are nothing but a political weapon or a political arm of the Democrat Party. We see it time and time again. The same thing happened to Trump's other lawyer, Michael Cohen, who I don't believe has a spine because he kind of turned on Trump. He wasn't loyal at all. But he is the FBI has always been shady. They're just like the mafia.
They are. They are the government's now, because it's, back in, now that we have the Biden administration, it's left. Yeah. The left Democrats.
Even before the Biden administration, even when the Trump administration, do you think the FBI was behind?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But now it's more...
they're going to get full cooperation.
They're going to get full cooperation. That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were obstructed. The Trump administration was obstructed by the FBI. When the FBI was their shady FISA dealings and their shady dealings with the FISA court, and how they went about spying on Trump's campaign, and how they went about with the Steele dossier, and how they got that thing going, and how they used that to get a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. Mm-hmm. It was just so shady, and there were no repercussions for that. I'm still waiting on what's that guy's name that's doing the investigation? He's got a probe on the FBI right now.
Carter Page?
Not Carter Page. God, what is his name? I don't know why. Bill Barr did one good thing. He gave God, what is that guy's name? Let me look him up. Let me look this guy up. He has these glasses, and he was one of the guys that took down the Irish mafia guy. one of the guys that took down the, not the Irish mafia guy, but the FBI, the corrupt FBI guy.
Which corrupt?
Durham.
Okay.
John Durham.
Okay.
It just came to me right now. So John Durham is running a probe right now to find out what happened with the FBI spying on the Trump campaign, and if it was where it all began and why it began, and if it was justified. So we'll see. Yeah. It's still going on. I mean, it's been how many years? I don't know, but we'll see.
I wouldn't hold your breath for too long.
Yeah, I don't have any faith in that at all. I don't think anything's going to come of that. If they get anybody, it's going to be some low-level guys, but you're not going to see guys like Andy McCabe. You're not going to jail. You're not going to see anybody like, what's that tall piece of crap? He used to be the director of the FBI. God, why are these names just eluding me? Because they've been out of the news cycle for so long. You know, the news has just buried it. Gosh, he's a tall. He used to be he's such a piece of crap. I forget his name. Gosh, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. Jesus, I gotta look for him. You can continue on if you want. If you want to tell, I gotta look up this guy's name.
Yeah, look him up. I think one thing that I don't know. I honestly would. I don't want to say I hope that it's the case that there's some legit.
James Comey. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
That if there's not any actual hard evidence of any crime that Giuliani committed, this is a terrifying situation we're in. And to me, it doesn't add up because, well, one, we'll dive into we already touched on it a little bit with the Biden corruption, but it doesn't make sense. Giuliani's been an American hero. He's been dedicated to the United States. Why would he be lobbying for Ukraine? There's a disconnect
are literally trying to do the same thing. I think what they're trying to do, they're going to try to do the same thing that they did to Michael Cohen to Giuliani.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to do all this stuff. They're going to get him to commit some kind of perjury, because this is what they're doing. I think, I'm not sure what they're going and invading his home for. It could be for the two associates that he has that are going through some criminal investigation or have been, I don't know if they've been indicted yet, but he has two close associates that have that are going through an investigation or have been indicted.
Yeah. So
they may be going through his house and going through his phone and trying to see what kind of communication he's had with them, and it may stem from that. It may stem from the Ukraine. There hasn't been any concrete, information that has been put out why they have raided him. But this is definitely political, and I don't care what anybody says. This is political, 100%.
There may be some loose base, like strings they're pulling at, but it's clear that it's retaliation, and
it is retaliation.
Not only retaliation, but like distraction from the Biden family corruption. I think it's interesting. You brought up how he was integral in establishing the RICO Act, right? Mm-hmm. And so like he has a history of bringing it all down, right?
Yeah,
and I think they're probably terrified because they know that he can do it. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Rudy Giuliani to bring down all these corrupt politicians, the Biden family, Hunter Biden.
Absolutely. He was probing and investigating the Giuliani family. I mean, the Biden family.
Yeah.
He was doing the same thing that he did to these mafia families.
Yep.
And he was doing it to the Biden family. And unfortunately for Giuliani, the Bidens have access to all the bureaucracies and judicial systems or judicial agencies like the FBI, like the CIA, like the IRS. He's going to use them to the fullest extent to stop Giuliani from doing anything that's going to hurt him or his family. So that's what Giuliani is up against, and it's scary. It's scary. It's really terrifying. I don't.
It is terrifying, especially when we're looking. I'm not overly knowledgeable on the Russia-Ukraine relations there. I know that they're tense. I know that there's been major conflict directly involving what Hunter Biden was involved in, which is natural gas pipelines to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so
here's what I know about it. I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, go, please.
I just know that there was an investigation going on with this company called Burisma. I'm not all that knowledgeable on it. Anybody in the comment section, if you want to comment and correct me, please do. There was an investigation going on, and Ukraine, they are extremely, there have been extreme corruption going on in that country. So one of the companies that was being investigated is called Burisma. Hunter Biden, a guy with no experience in the energy sector, a guy that had only got on to that board of the company because of his name, was indicated in a lot of criminal, activity going on in that country. I mean, in that company. So there was a special prosecutor or a special investigator that was appointed to investigate this company. And because Hunter Biden was on the company board, Joe Biden comes in and wants this particular investigator or prosecutor off of this investigation. They do it under the pretext that this particular investigator is corrupt. Knowing that the Ukraine gets a bunch of aid from the United States, money, weapons to defend themselves against countries like Russia, they were pretty much bullied into firing this particular investigator or prosecutor. I can't remember. This is where that video, when I say bullied, this is the video with Joe Biden saying, hey, you either get this prosecutor fired or you're not going to get any of the money.
Isn't that basically exactly what Trump was impeached for?
Exactly. It's the same thing. They said that Trump wanted to get them to investigate Joe Biden, or he didn't even say we're not going to get aid or we're going to withhold aid. That's what they were saying. But the aid still came. The aid came. So they didn't even really do an investigation on Biden, and the aid came anyway. And the time frame for when the aid, this is what they impeached him for. Oh, you're doing pay for play. Oh, if you do this investigation for me, we're going to give you aid. This is what they were accusing Trump for, and that never even happened. It may sounded like he was doing that, but that the action, it did not happen.
Yeah.
And what they impeached Trump for, Biden actually did.
Yeah.
He said, get on the phone and ask Barack Obama. You're not going to see that money unless this prosecutor is gone. Admitted on tape, videotape. The Democrats always do what they accuse you of doing.
Absolutely.
It's
more and more apparent.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
That's 100%
They call you a bigot, and they're the biggest bigots on the planet.
They're the biggest racists.
Yes.
Sorry, side note, did you see that they were like, we're going to ban menthol cigarettes because it's going to save black people? It's like...
As if black people have no, like, they treat black people like children, I swear, man. And I don't know why black people are not insulted by this. I don't know how, like, and I blame black people for this. I blame black people for this because they don't ever stand up for themselves. They stand up for themselves. The only time they stand up for themselves, and it's for the stupidest reason, is when a white police officer kills a black person. Justifiable or not. This is where it's like kicking a hornet's nest. You could do anything. It's like you're threatening the queen of the bee nest when a white cop kills a black person, justifiable or not. That's when all the bees come out. But you can do anything. But anything else, it's like it's as if you're putting like smoke on the bee nest, and they're just like, you can do anything. When you put smoke on a bee nest, they're just like, whatever. It's like, but police brutality. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
outraged about that one.
Yeah. It's like putting smoke on a bee nest. This stuff that you should be mad about or should be insulted about or outraged about.
You're not outraged that you have a nanny government at this point, like that are like you're so like infantile and so incapable that don't worry, we'll take care of you. Big mama government. You're too dumb to do it for yourself.
Yeah, you're too dumb to do it for yourself.
The hell is that not racism?
Yeah. Black people only see racism from a narrow lens. It has to be, they don't see anything racist about Joe Biden saying if you don't vote for him, you're not black. It's not racist. It's not that. It's like, as long as you have the D next to your name, it's like, that's like the buffer. It gives you a license to be racist. I don't know what it is. It's just a license to be, that D is just so powerful.
It is.
Because
they have the moral high ground.
Yeah, they don't have the moral high ground, but the perception is that they do. And it's conservatives' fault why that's the way it is. Because they are the ones that are weak. The Democrats aren't weak. They aren't weak at all. They are evil, but they aren't weak. The conservatives are weak. The church is weak. We were talking about this a little earlier before the podcast. I think that historically, yes, that's accurate. But I think as there's a continual bullying and attacks and... Oh, yeah. The pressure cooker is rumbling right now. Yeah, it's rumbling. Yeah. It is... You can only kick... going back to the hornet's nest. You can only kick a hornet's nest for so long before it's like, okay, no, we're done. And especially as... Another thing we were talking about is as we see this walk away movement, right? All these ex-leftists that are all these disenchanted liberals like myself who are like, nope, are bringing tactics over to the conservative side where it's like, no, we're actually going to start standing our ground, and more conservatives are waking up. And so I think that there is a shift happening there that's nice to see. Yeah. And I'm really happy to see that. Hopefully they can, like you said earlier, they can bring some of their tactics and teach some conservatives how to, grow a spine, grow a pair, and get out. And like you said, it's happening. The pressure cooker is rumbling. So we'll see. We'll see if it changes the culture, and and I feel like conservatives do need to start getting into the culture war. The culture war is very important,
Yeah.
and it's the reason why you've lost all your institutions.
Right.
It's the reason why your kids are now learning critical race theory, that abomination of a freaking theory.
Racism being established in our education system, our
Yes.
on all our systems. But I want to go back to that. We want people to come in and change the culture, but not the values, which is something you called out, like not the values of conservative.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we do appreciate all the liberals that are coming over, and they're teaching conservatives how to fight back, how to not be complacent, how to because we need their experience, we need their expertise, because they know the enemy.
Yeah.
They know how these people are and how they act, their tactics and everything. And conservatives have spent so many years just leave me alone, just complacent. They never get into the fight.
Individualistic.
So, very individualistic by nature.
Which I can respect completely.
Yeah.
But it's not going to win any battles. It's not going to win any wars.
Well, absolutely. I mean, just like we had this conversation earlier about the parents getting upset about how the school system near in your area, your school district area, they were pissed off. And this was a school district that was pretty, dang flexible on how they conducted the COVID response. And the parents were not having any of it.
No.
So they came together and they marched up to the school, and they let them have it. The Board of Education, they let them have it. And all of the people on the Board of Education, I don't know if they resigned. Did they resign, or were they fired, or what? They quit.
They quit on the spot.
They quit on the spot.
At least that's not confirmed, but the understanding was that everybody had quit. Mm-hmm. Everyone on the board, they refused to hear these parents.
Yeah.
And they were just like, you know what? No, we quit. And so there on the spot, they were just like...
Yes, and that is a tactic from the left. That is not a rightist tactic. That's a leftist.
Yep.
They came together. They organized. That's what works.
It's an effective strategy.
Yes.
Because they're on the spot. Once they got word that the board had walked away, they looked up the bylaws, and in accordance, they called for a vote. They established a new board, and voted on mask regulation, that they could not require masks for teachers or students. You can wear them by all means if you want to, but it's not a requirement. And it's like, yay. It's like, it's so refreshing to see that.
You get a victory, and it's like, finally.
It's rejuvenating a little bit. I think we get so beat down with this, just like
been losing,
which is part of the leftist tactic, right? Like, it's like the waterboarding mentality, just like keep poking, and it is exhausting. But seeing things like that, you're just like, yes, get it, like,
absolutely,
make change, stand up.
Yeah.
So that
really,
was super
really, really, really proud of those parents and what they did for their children.
Same.
Yeah. So, did you want to add anything else to the Giuliani topic, or?
I don't think so. I think that, at least for now, I'm sure it's a developing story, so there could be a lot more to discuss there.
I just personally, I think that if this is stemming from what I suspect is political, this is, like I told you earlier, that this is fascism in its purest form, because you're using the state to attack your political opponents.
Yep.
That is wrong, and that is just insane. And Barack Obama's, this is very, very similar to what they did in the Barack Obama administration when he attacked his opponents with the IRS. He attacked his opponents
Another
through spying
branch of
on
the government mob,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
Give us your money or we'll break your kneecaps.
Right,
Like,
pretty much, yeah. He attacked people through the FBI, spying on people, and this whole spying thing and this whole thing with the FBI did not start with Donald Trump. This was before Donald Trump. This predates Donald Trump. And if that is another topic, and I can talk about that all day because I've been following this for a long time.
I'd love to do a whole podcast about that because
Yeah.
you're so knowledgeable about it. I have a high level view, but I would love to dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to go and get into the State of the Union address from President Joe Biden. Gosh. So I am going to definitely be deferring to Miss Libby Lou because I did not watch it. I watched clips and little spots of it. And Libby Lou watched it, so I didn't have to watch it, and you didn't have to watch it.
I suffered through it. Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
So we definitely thank her, and we definitely appreciate her. So I'm going to probably just, ask her questions on different topics that he addressed, and she's just going to give like an overview of what he said, and then I'm probably going to maybe give a reaction to it.
Yeah.
So
I'll try to recall as best I can.
Right.
It was very hard. There was a lot of droning going on and rambling and
So do we have like a list of topics that he covered, or
should I just look at my tweets?
Yeah. And I can just go off of your tweets and then ask you like, what did you mean by this? And what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. I like that. Okay.
I was banned from Twitter by the way. So I don't have a Twitter anymore. I was banned like 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And over the stupidest.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there was one that was maybe a little.
Which one was that?
It was.
Oh, when I said, we need to hang these, we need to castrate these rapists that are raping children.
I don't think is that one. I think that's justified. I maybe that was the one actually.
Because I think that was the last one that I got banned for.
There was one that you got banned for. Which news anchor were you like?
I said, oh my God. So this news anchor, Joy Reid, this stupid, I don't want to cuss and I don't want to call her the C word, but that's how I feel about her because she's trying to get black people killed. So there was the incident. I don't know if you guys remember the incident that happened in Atlanta. I think his name was Rashard Brooks. Was drunk in a Wendy's driveway. Police officer pulled him aside, gave him a breathalyzer, placed him under arrest, and the guy started resisting arrest, started beating up both of the cops, stole their taser, and ran away and turned around and pointed the weapon at the cop, and the cop shot the suspect. Justifiable shooting. This cop is now on trial for murder. For felony murder. He was fired and he's now on trial for felony murder, which is a complete travesty and a disgrace. And Joy Reid pretty much, I don't even remember the tweet, but it was a tweet pretty much condemning the police officer and not even acknowledging the wrongdoing of black people. And I said, the black people that are causing these incidents with resisting arrest and attacking police officers. And I said in a response, do not listen to this woman. She is going to get black people killed. And Twitter banned me for inciting violence when I was doing the opposite.
The exact opposite.
Yes.
That was so
I'm like,
shocking.
What the heck?
It's not that shocking, to be honest. But yeah, but it was like, are you serious?
Yes, instead of telling black people don't resist arrest, instead of telling black people don't try to fight the police, instead of telling back people don't steal police officers' weapons from them and fleeing the scene, she said she condemned the police officers. It was asinine. I couldn't even believe it. But and then again, like you said, I could believe it because these people are just crazy. But anyways.
Yeah.
I digress.
But anyways.
Yeah.
Twitter's dumb. I don't know why I had been off of it for a long time.
I mean, for the most part, like I love Twitter and the engagement, like Twitter has the best, it's the best place to engage different, because, we could all say, oh yeah, Parler or Gab, Minds and all this stuff, but there's the most engagement on Twitter because you have, and I liked Twitter because you could engage liberals, you can engage leftists, right. And you can tell them your point, you can, and there was nowhere they could hide. Right. You can go and tell them your peace of mind.
But also on the flip side, I like getting other perspective.
Yes.
Like, I like
getting pushed back.
I like questioning myself. I don't like being in an echo chamber. This
is why I was on Parler and I just couldn't, no doubt Parler, I shout out to them, and it gives conservatives a place to where they can voice their opinions without having to worry about getting banned.
Right.
But at the same time, Twitter provides provides a place where you can take on your opponent one-on-one, head-to-head. And that's the type of engagement that I want. I don't want to be with a bunch of conservatives that are going to agree with everything I say.
Right. That's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it.
I don't think that's healthy.
No, I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's conductive to long-term growth. I think it's a good place to assemble and you want what?
I want to be with people. I want to be around people who don't like me, so I can take them on.
Yeah. You are a fighter.
Yeah. So
in the best sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, moving into the speech, I only started tweeting about halfway because I have been trying to limit my tweets.
I want to talk about the one thing that really
me too.
Really made me upset.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to give a high-level overview.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
High-level overview. I can't remember who exactly tweeted this out, but I thought it was so on point. The entire thing could have been an email. Cool story, Joe. You literally said nothing of substance. You bloated yourself up with hot air, and which I guess is kind of standard anyway, but just bloated himself up and had no real action other than let's build an infrastructure,
green infrastructure,
infrastructure jobs. That's what he talked about, and talked about some childcare stuff that he wants to implement.
Did he talk about systemic racism and all that stuff?
Oh, we'll get there. Oh, yes. Yes, we'll get there. So overall, it was a lot of nothing. He droned on, and he got a lot of standing ovations for saying nothing.
Yeah.
That's the recap.
Okay.
But he did say a couple key things that are alarming.
Yeah.
In the worst way.
Now, I want to give you a different perspective on this.
Okay.
Hear me out.
All right.
Do you think that he said a whole lot of nothing, and it wasn't a very charismatic or exciting State of the Union address?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Do you think that was on purpose? Because here's my theory. What do you remember? I mean, let's say that you were a casual looking in on this, and you're watching this, and you're just you're not initiated.
Yeah.
Like you and I are initiated politically.
Mm-hmm.
what could you walk away from that thing that was memorable about that?
That's a valid point. Nothing.
Okay.
I would literally have fallen asleep.
Right. So, do you think with all the radical things he was saying, do you think that the way he did it was done purposely, where it's boring, forgettable, and it'll allow the people to still be asleep?
Yes, that's an excellent point.
I was thinking about this, and I was just like, this really dawned on me like the past hour. I was just thinking about this, and I'm like, yo, this guy, we might look at this Joe Biden guy as like, he's got dementia, but his handlers are smart. His handlers are very smart because he was allowed to push through his radical, crazy agenda, but do it in a way that was so boring, that was so forgettable, that was so unmemorable, that the average person that is not initiated like you and I are going to look at this and be whatever. Oh, that's just sleepy. That's just Joe being like Sleepy Joe, whatever. Yeah. We're not going to look at this as opposed to where, you know, and then the media is not going to, they're going to look at, they're not going to question. They're not going to, you know, say, oh, well, what did he mean by that? They're not going to really say anything. That when I look at it from that perspective, that's pretty damn scary because they're going to be able to do whatever is in their agenda and get no pushback. This State of the Union is not going to get any pushback except the mainstream media is going to like eat it up and lap it up like a freaking dog.
They're singing praises about this speech. How it was so tremendous and like giving accolades. I was like, what?
This wasn't a unifying speech at all.
It wasn't.
This was a partisan speech on every single level.
Yeah. And I think it was a distraction speech.
Mm-hmm.
The things that he did hone in on and elaborate on.
Yeah.
I do think he did build on those pieces so that he could quickly gloss over things like the border crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly gloss over. He did touch on guns and Second Amendment a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But, one of his comments was just so not only cringy, but he made a joke. He said, what do you need 100 rounds for? Are deer wearing Kevlar now? And it's like, that's not funny at all. That's not why we have the Second Amendment. I don't know who needs to be told that. That is not what the Second Amendment is for.
Yeah. These people are just unhinged. What the hell does that joke? That doesn't even... It's such a bad joke.
It's such a bad joke, first of all. Like, I miss Trump's jokes, to be honest. But, like, hunting was not why they wrote the Second Amendment was written.
No, the Second Amendment was written to keep the goddamn government in check.
Which is why you need 100 rounds.
Yes, which is why you need 100. We don't need 100 rounds for a deer. We need 100 rounds for you, people like you.
Exactly, who are coming in with your mobs now.
Yeah.
And, like, your FBI.
Uh-huh.
All these, unfortunately, some local police.
Yeah.
That's what we need the 100 rounds for.
Yes. So we can build our own militia against tyranny.
Well-regulated militia.
Exactly. Like, what is so hard to understand about that?
I don't know. And I also don't understand this. He touched on, like, at certain times, you couldn't own, at any point in history, you couldn't own anything you wanted. And it's like... That's not true.
You can have a tank if you want.
Yeah.
You can have a cannon. Like, people can have cannons... And there were people want to talk about there weren't any, they were only muskets back then. That's not true. There weren't only muskets. They had semi-automatic guns going way back to the freaking Civil War and probably even further. They had semi-automatics. They had guns with high capacity rounds in them. So this is this nonsense about, oh, well, the founding fathers didn't have this in mind when they talked about Second Amendment. Get out of here with that. You don't even know anything about guns. And I consider myself a novice when it comes to guns, a beginner when it comes to guns. I own a pretty substantial amount of guns, but I know some history about it.
Right.
And when these stupid liberals come and say they were only talking about muskets and it was like
the other thing that really gets me here too is like technology has advanced. The military's technology has advanced. Why wouldn't the people be allowed to keep pace with those advancements in their own protection?
Absolutely.
Do you really think a well-regulated militia is going to, in this day and age, should stick to muskets and Joe Biden's shotgun? Like, just buy a shotgun. No, that's not going to cut it. Honestly, even an AR isn't going to cut it, but it does give somewhat of an advantage.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry, I don't know how to turn off my sound. It's a new phone. Anyway, new technologies, we have to be able to maintain some pace.
I say the pace between the government and the people should be equal.
Yes.
They should be able to do whatever they can. Maybe not nuclear weapons.
I was just going to say.
That's the only thing that I would say. And the government should be forbidden on using nuclear weapons against its own people, no matter what.
Yep. No
matter what. And this, when you hear, you even have these stupid politicians like Eric Fartwell saying that, why would it's so dumb when conservatives talk about they have their weapons because they want to protect themselves from tyranny from the government, when the government can just come and nuke you. Like, what kind of a message are you sending, you moron? Like, really? You are advocating for the government to nuke its own citizens. You are a goddamn terrorist.
Yes.
That's what you are, and a fascist.
Must know Susan Rosenberg. Anyway, look up Susan Rosenberg. Totally different podcast.
Yeah,
too.
And Susan Rosenberg, the stupid idiot that bombed the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and was pardoned by Mr. President Clinton.
Yep, and is now working with BLM.
Yes.
On I believe it's fundraising.
Yeah.
What she does. That may have changed since I last looked at
it. It may have changed. They may have, like, she works loosely with BLM. I know on their finance, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
But this person is a far leftist, and that's another topic.
Yeah, I don't want to dive too far into that, but I do want to bring up. Speaking about, government and what government means, there is his piece about we the people.
Oh God!
I
saw that clip and I was like, what? I had to rewind it. Like, this guy did not just say that.
Yeah.
He said, do you want to say the quote?
Oh, shoot. I'll try to remember it verbatim. But it's like, and so the Constitution lays it out perfectly or something. Like,
he says, I'll try to get it. He says the Constitution, we remember the Constitution as the beautiful words, the introduction of we the people. Well, it's time we start realizing. It's time we start recognizing or remembering that we the people is we the government, and that throughout his whole speech was probably the scariest thing that he has said.
Was terrifying.
And I've watched a lot of conservative news since this speech, and nobody is talking about that part.
Why? I don't understand. We the people, that is not what that is about. It's not we the government. It's to remember. It's to remind the government that we elect you. We the people have the power.
Yes,
you
not
are
the government.
not the people.
You have there is nothing like the government is. There is no how do I say this? There is no mixing between the two. These are two separate entities. These are two separate. We the people is one thing, and the government is another thing.
Yep.
And there is a contract between the two. But let's not get it construed like these two are the same.
No,
they are not the same. They are separate.
And that cannot be confused at any moment by either side.
Exactly.
That should be terrifying for no matter
Republicans
how you
and
stand
Democrats.
politically.
Yes. They're trying to blur the lines. And the reason why they want to blur the lines between we the people and the government is because they want to be able to, since we're a part of you, we can have a say on what's best for you. Exactly. Since we are a part of you, we're not somebody else giving an authoritarian perspective. We're not coming from an authoritarian perspective. We're coming from a perspective where we are you. So we are not coming from an authoritarian perspective. We're coming from a perspective that since we are you, we can speak on what is best for you.
What does that sound like?
That sounds like BS.
Well, yeah. It sounds like a lot of a communist mentality.
Oh, yeah. That does sound like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That kind of went over my head, but yeah, you're right. It's in
the same vein.
Yeah. Because the government in the communist country, their whole thing is about being about the people. Yeah. Yep. So they blur that line,
Yep.
When
this is what's the running joke? This isn't my pillow. This is our pillow.
Yeah. I couldn't. That is the scariest thing he said throughout that entire speech. Yeah.
There was one other thing that I thought was scary. That was by far the scariest because it opens up. I love what you said too about him being so sleepy people will ignore it. Mm-hmm. But the other piece that he talked about was, don't worry about what's happening in Yemen and Syria. Don't worry about what's happening in those foreign countries. Those are far, far away. But our intelligence agency, the FBI, mm-hmm. CIA, mm-hmm. what all his his mob, his mafia mm-hmm. is telling him.
His political arm is telling him is that white supremacy is the number one threat to our nation. This is how they are able to enact their little critical race theory BS. Yep. This is how they are able to enact all of this stuff to make white people the enemy, to make white people hate themselves. Yep. So because white people are the majority, and whenever you get white people to start hating themselves or start feeling a certain way about it makes them, they're so on the defensive, that they are going to be willing to be, okay, we'll do this anything to prove that, racist. Yes, anything to not be called racist, which I always tell white people, man, like, if y'all don't get strong and if y'all don't get tough, I'm telling you, you are going to lose this country. I've said this a million times. You are going to lose this country if you don't get tough. And not by tough, I don't mean be racist, but be strong white people.
Stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself.
I am not a racist.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody tries to force me to say. I am not a racist.
Absolutely, because you're going to lose this country. And I'm telling, I mean, I don't want to, I'm sorry, and I might sound like people are going to call me Uncle Tom, whatever. I don't want to live in a country where it's not majority white. I'm sorry, I don't. Because I don't know show me a successful country that is ran by, besides crazy communist countries like China, which enslaves its people. Show me a free country that is ran by non-white people that is successful. I'll wait. I'll wait. You can call China successful all you want. You can call places like, I don't know, what do you call it? Japan successful, but they have strict rules. They're not free. These are not free countries. Yeah. You know, Japan, you cannot be a citizen of Japan unless you are 100% Japanese. So that you have to. Yeah, there are Koreans there that are born there, born and raised, and they cannot be Japanese citizens.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's wild.
These are like, name me a country that is free, that is ran by non-white people. I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So whenever we have a country, unless these people are coming and they're keeping the foundation and the values, because it's not necessarily, I guess you could say it's not necessarily tied to the race, but if the culture stems from white Judeo-Christian values, you're going to get different cultures that come from different backgrounds and different countries, and that is going to change the country, and it's going to change it for the worst. So I don't want to live in a majority non-white country in America. Sorry, I don't want to do it. I don't care what anybody says. This country was prospering and is considered the greatest country in the history of the world because of the people who founded it, the people who created it. There were other elements and other races that helped and contributed, but for the most part, this is a white-dominated country. I do not want to change that. I am comfortable living in a white-dominant country, and that's fine with me. I would want to raise a family in this country. Me being a minority, I feel like this is the least racist country in the world because we are so accepting of everybody. But don't get it twisted. I want this country to be majority white. I want white families to have white babies. I want all families to have babies. But it's very alarming when I see that white people aren't having as many babies as they used to. It's alarming when I see black families aren't having that many babies as they used to. As a matter of fact, they're getting abortions like crazy. And this is what needs to happen. We need to have families. We need to have white families to continue the tradition, to continue the American values. It's very alarming to me when I see that these white families, the white community is, if you look at the 60s and compare it to now, it's like they're being diminished. They're being eradicated. Hispanics, nothing against Hispanic people. Definitely nothing. I love Hispanic people. But they are growing at a pace that is unprecedented. They're coming from the southern border. They're growing at a pace that is unprecedented. And at this pace, it's like, wow, the demographics are changing. And so that's why I'm always for white families. I'm for black families too, as well, to have babies, because black families are being diminished too. The pace needs to keep up with the other communities and cultures. I'm sorry, but this we have to keep our foundation. We have to keep the American values, the American Judeo-Christian values here intact.
I don't think it's as much about race as it is making sure that those values are intact. So.
I think it is about race. I really do think it is about race, because, and I don't want to harp on race a lot, but when it comes to this, like, look, culture is ingrained in you. When you have different cultures, it's hard to take, and I know this is a great thing about America, we're a melting pot, but when you take people from different cultures, This is the reason why the country is how it is right now. And the reason why we're losing the values is because the diversity is good, but it's like there's cons to it too. There are cons to diversity. People think that diversity is just this great, like, oh my God, this like we need diversity. We need diversity. Yeah, it's true. But we also need to keep those values. We also need to keep that culture.
Not lose sight.
Yes, and not lose sight. Like, and it's very, I just don't want to get lost in this whole thing about diversity to where we just lose our values. And that's just where I'm coming from with it, you know. Yeah. When I say white families need to have white babies and black families need to have black babies and whatever, I'm not saying it to be like a white supremacist or a black supremacist. I'm saying it because I don't want to see white families eradicated. I don't want to see, I want to keep what makes this country great. And I'm sorry, but white families make this country great. I'm sorry. If that might be that the truth hurts. Facts hurt. Sorry, I'm a black man. White families make this country great. It's true. I know it's hard to look at me and say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm not allowed to say that as a white person.
No, yes you are. Yes you are.
I'm kidding.
Yes you are. Yes, you are. Because I can say black families make this country great, too.
Yep, absolutely.
Black families make this country great. White families make this country great.
Asian families
make this country great. All families make this country great. But the majority of the country is white. And if the majority of the country is white, when this country was at its peak, it is not unfactual or it's not false to say that white families make this country great. And it is what it is. And I say that unapologetically. I probably might get a bunch of people in the damn comments just going crazy, all Coon this, all Uncle Tom this, but I don't care. It's the truth. It's the truth.
I definitely, as a white woman,
don't. It's like you gotta be like prideful.
I was about
like,
to like.
Come on,
I am
like,
proud of my family, like, and their heritage and our traditions.
Absolutely, you come from a great family. Your father's family from what is it, New Hampshire or is it Vermont?
Well, he lived in Vermont.
Okay.
For a couple years. My family originates from Cornwall, England.
Right. And they were fishermen, right?
His side, yep. Fishermen came. They were Mormon and faced a lot of trials and persecution for their religion. And on my mom's side too, there's.
But they had and they had family values. They worked hard as Americans, you know, and
I will never apologize or feel ashamed for my family's
But there are people
heritage.
who are going to make you apologize and make you feel ashamed because you have a white heritage.
Never will.
Yes, and I want white people to not back down and not say like, don't back down. That's all I ask. Don't back down and don't be ashamed of your culture because I damn sure ain't ashamed of my culture.
Yeah.
I will, I'm not ashamed of my black culture, my Caribbean, my Caribbean background. I'm not ashamed of that. And it just boggles my mind when I see white people being afraid to like talk about their culture, talk about their history, or be boastful about their culture and history because you don't want to offend some freaking BLM piece of crap.
No. Nothing about my family's heritage is offensive, and I'm going to celebrate it. And
well, good.
I think that their contributions, especially like my grandfather fought in World War II, like we've made great contributions. My ancestors have made great contributions to this country, and I hope to continue tradition.
Same here. My ancestors made a lot of great contributions to this country. I just hate that. The only thing I hate is when you cannot celebrate that because you're white.
Right. Exactly.
That
because
pisses me off.
We are the oppressors.
Yes. That's another thing in the State of the Union that, like you touched on the topic of white supremacy. Joe Biden saying that white supremacy is the number one
threat to the United States. Yep. It's wild. And I think, looping back to that a little bit, so there's a whole tangent that we just went on, right? Mm-hmm. White supremacy is not the number one issue. And anybody with half a brain could tell you that is not the number one issue facing our country, internally or externally. But I do think, sorry, actually go ahead before it, because I kind of segue into another thought.
I want to know what the hell, like, white supremacists have done lately.
Right. Where are all these swarms of white supremacists? Because I'll tell you one thing, Proud Boys are not white supremacists.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to know the last time they burnt down a building. I want to know the last time they looted a store. I want to know the last time they murdered an 8-year-old black girl that was in the car of her mother. I want to know the last time they murdered a 7-year-old, a white supremacist. When was the last time they murdered a 7-year-old girl in McDonald's?
When was the last time they shot somebody point blank in the street as they were walking down in Portland?
When was the last time they shot a black woman in the head point blank for saying Black Lives Matter? Because I can show you the inverse.
Yep.
There was a woman that was shot by BLM for saying all lives matter. They shot and killed this woman. Mother, wife, had a family. How is white supremacy the biggest? We just saw the damn country pretty much burning down in most of the cities. And most of the big cities, these Democrat-ran cities, but white supremacy is the biggest issue?
That was mostly peaceful.
Oh, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So here is why I think they're framing it up to be like white supremacy is the number one issue, right? Mm-hmm. Well, one, it fits a narrative and makes them seem like they're going to be the hero, right? Like, that helps sell them. But also, I think it does tie back to Biden's political retaliation. Mm-hmm. Who have they been calling white supremacists for 4 years now? It's Trump supporters, right? Yeah. So suddenly it's going to be like, it started with the Proud Boys. Proud Boys are white supremacists. They are a terrorist organization. And then I think it slowly cycles up to MAGA supporters, MAGA. Any Trump supporter, you are a white supremacist. You are a terrorist. And I could see it escalating to that. And I think that's why it's being harped on. And in that sense, it will inhibit and in attempts to damage Trump's return in 2024, if he ends up doing that, which I think that's a
great observation. That's a great point. What they are doing is pretty much selling or just muddying the waters.
Yep, exactly.
To where when Trump makes his return, they're gonna say, "Oh, these white supremacists are on the rise again."
Yep.
These
I don't know how many times I've been called Klan on Twitter. Like, I'm part of the Klan, and I'm like...
Twitter is not... I just want to say, Twitter is not...
It's not real life.
It's not real life.
No.
But it does drive culture.
Yep.
It does drive culture. So
Yep.
I guess in a sense it is real life. But the reason why you can say that it drives culture is because they get no pushback. There's no pushback from conservatives who make up half of the country. There's no real alternative. I mean, like I said, we have Parler, we have, Minds and Gab and all these other, BitChute or whatever. But your everyday, hardworking, just regular conservative is not trying to organize. He or she just wants to live their life, raise their family, and be left alone. Yep. And that's how a real law-abiding citizen should act. But you have the enemy who wants to take away your livelihood. Yep. So these same people are getting lumped in to be white supremacists, which is why I'm trying to shake them and wake up. Like, hey man, they're really coming after you. They're lumping you into a group that you are not a part of, and you are going to be looked at and shunned away from society. Yep. So if you don't get in the game and fight back, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. The consequences will be on you.
Yeah.
You didn't stand up, so you helped usher it in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I will do everything in my power to fight that. Use all my white privilege to fight it.
Yes. There is something. You have to fight these people, these critical race theorists. You have to fight them with the same type of fire. You have to fight them with the same. Anything they come at you with, they're coming at you with the full force of critical race theory. You need to come back with the full force of the, maybe not the inverse, but like a united front to say, I am white and I am proud, or I am black and I am proud, but I am not racist and I do not agree with your critical race theory. This is backwards thinking.
Yep.
This is backwards thinking. I am not racist. I am white. I am proud of my heritage, and I am not racist. This is what needs to be. That needs to be the answer to critical race theory. Yep. You will not teach my kids this bullshit.
Yep. You will not make my children make them feel as if they are inferior.
Yes, because this is what they're
demons, that they're terrible. Based on the color of their skin.
In order to weaken the country, you have to take the majority or the strongest of the country and make them weak.
Yeah.
The people who made this country, the people who make this country great and what it is. So you're going to take the white community, you have to make them weak. You have to make them weak in order to come in and do what you need to do or do what you want to do. And this is their plan. I'm telling you, man. And it's like they want to make the white community weak. The black community is already weak. They've lost all their values. They've lost their values as far as family. They've lost their values as far as the church. They've lost their values, just point blank, period. They've lost their values. They're coming after the white community now. Because the whole thing is divide and conquer. They're coming after the white community, and they're doing it in a different way. Black people, all they had to do with the black community is put some drugs in the community and put them on welfare, and the whole thing crumbled. It all crumbled. You know what I'm saying? The white community, you gotta do some things to unravel it. And then you gotta take over the institutions. You have to push in your critical race theory. You have to put in propaganda that they are racist. You have to make them feel weak. There is a concentrated effort right now against straight heterosexual white people and white families. They took care of the black community. They took care of the black community. They're going after whites now.
It's been a long it's been the long con. It's been the long game.
Mm-hmm.
This has been set in motion for a long time now. And
Absolutely.
it's just now starting to come to a head where like a frog in water, right? Like slowly turn up the temperature, and it's time people wake up.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Jump out of that pot, man.
So, did you want to go into anything else, or?
Nothing really. I think though that hits the high notes of Biden's speech, and I think
disaster. I call it a disaster.
Yeah, it is a disaster. He's a disaster. His whole Kamala and Nancy Pelosi, everybody applauding that. Oh yes, the first time in history there's 2 women standing behind me, and it's a long time coming. And I'm just like, she's nasty, she's atrocious.
Yeah.
I see no victory here.
Yeah.
But cool, they have female anatomy, right?
They have their identity politics.
Yep.
And this is what they harp on symbolism, and they but are these people actual quality? No. They're not quality people.
No, they're not. They're nobody that I want my daughter to idolize.
Yes.
So
somebody who cackles and laughs at every single topic. Her response to just everything. It's just so cringy. Border. Like, oh, you are annoying to look at. You are like the thing, and the thing that have like her little neck, like her little wrinkled neck. It's just like, oh, you're so disgusting. And it's crazy because she's not an ugly woman, but I cannot stand to look at her. I can't. Like, it's so crazy how a woman like that, who is pretty like attractive, but like I cannot look at her because she's so disgusting because of her personality. That is the perfect example of, I'm not saying that she's like a beauty queen or anything, but she's decent for a politician.
At her age.
At her age, and when she opens her mouth and her mannerisms,
I know.
This takes her all the way down to -0. Like she's below 0 when it comes to like as a person. She's the worst. Yep. She's the worst.
Compound that with Biden's droning and his long con man talk, and it's brutal. It's so brutal.
Well, this is like I said earlier, this is done. Because they put out an agenda. If you listen to the, I saw clips and I saw, extended, segments of I didn't see the whole thing once again, but I did see clips and extended portions of the speech. And what I saw was a boring, just anemic speech. It was not uplifting at all. It was divisive. It was very partisan. Yep. But, like I said, it was boring. So he's able to get all of these points across in a boring way that the average person who is not initiated like you or I, and the agenda was out. He has the agenda out there for you to see if you just watch the State of the Union. The thing is that people are not going to be awake to it. People are not going to be like, what the hell? He just blurred the lines between we the people and the government? What the hell?
Why isn't that a red flag?
Yeah, that's like, they're not gonna. That's not gonna be a red flag to people because people are not. They're just gonna, whatever. He's not a lightning rod. He's perfect for the establishment because he is gonna put people to sleep.
Yep, that's why they wanted him in.
That's why they wanted him. He's just an empty vessel. Yep. That's all he is.
That's never been more apparent than
Yeah.
tonight. And yeah, the average modern, especially American, I was going to say human, but Americans, let's be real, has the attention span of under 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So
with Trump, they hung on to every single word. So he was, anything he said, they were going to hang on to it. And it was going to be in the news cycle for the next few days.
Yep.
But, well, we're going to call it a night. And we definitely appreciate you guys sitting through this long podcast. My name is Burning Spear Patriot, and I'm joined once again by the lovely Libby Lou. And God bless you. God bless country. But God bless this country.
It's getting late. Yeah.
It is getting late.
But yes, thank you so much for joining, and definitely subscribe, hit that like button. Notifications coming through. It's people liking this video already. But no, we really appreciate the support. So, all right, signing off until next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.